Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today is Saturday. It is November 29th and we're in the second day of the 3-day Turf Festival over at Del Mar. So they've got some nice races carded. They got a long card today. There's 11 races. So they start a little earlier than usual. So they have an 11:30 a.m. Pacific post time to start the day. You know, they run out of daylight towards the end, so they've got to start it earlier. So it's 11:30 is the first post there, 11:30 Pacific, so that's 1:30 here in the Central Time Zone. And let's get started on Saturday's card. So I am going to start in the first race. I do have some win bets that I want to make throughout the card today. And the first race is a mile on the grass, and this is a starter allowance race with an option to claim for $50,000, so that just helps, fill the race there. They've got a couple of horses here are in for the claiming tag, so that certainly did help in filling the race. So this is a race, basically, if you started for $50,000 or less and you haven't won two races, or if you haven't met that condition, if you want to put your horse in for 50, you'll qualify for this race. So these are 3-year-olds and up fillies, and I've got a win bet I'm going to make here. Price here, we've got the 5-horse being Time to Shine from Mark Glatt. Antonio Fresu takes the call. Now, Fresu's been on this horse in her last 4 starts, including a win and a couple, tough beats near the wire. Now, this horse is, beautifully bred by Not This Time. And as we've seen, Not This Times are doing just exceptionally well, gangbusters, wherever they're running, in whatever surface. So, Time to Shine is able to run in this type of race. She had run in a claiming race earlier in her career, so this got her eligible for this race. Now, she's been, just kind of running tough races, and maybe a little unlucky, haven't gotten beat, on or near the wire a couple times. Probably been a little bit unlucky with the trips as well. So we'll see if Antonio Fresu can figure out a nice trip, maybe saving some more ground here. She's 8-1 here, and, I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of price we're going to get, but I think Time to Shine is worth a win bet in the first race, that being the 5-horse, Time to Shine. Now we're going to move over to the third race of the day. Third race is another mile on the grass, and these are maiden special weights. This is open company horses, and these are 2-year-old fillies. So maybe some future stars, some future nice performers here. We'll see. I have a win bet I'm going to make here. I don't know what the price is going to be. Might be short. We'll see. But that being on the 9-horse, Ramayana. Ramayana comes out of the Richard Mandela barn. Umberto Rispoli takes the call. Now, I know I had talked about this horse last time she ran, gave this horse out. This horse got bet kind of hard. She ended up getting beat, came second to Hypergamy. And, in that race, Hypergamy had some more experience than Ramayana. Ramayana was coming off one start over at Santa Anita in a 6 furlong on the flat grass. She had run second to Umbriel. So she ran second to Umbriel and Hypergamy, and those horses are both going on in a stakes race later today. So she got beat by some nice horses. We're going to give Ramayana a pass last time. It was her first time going 2 turns. She ran up into an experienced horse who just took the lead and took off and ended up beating her. So I think she improved a lot. I think, that 2-turn experience will give her a real edge today. Now, she's 7-2 in the program. As I mentioned, I don't expect her to go off at that high of a price. If we can get 2-1, 5-2, that would be a nice price on Ramayana, considering, how she's run. We'll see. There's certainly some speed inside of her. We'll see what that Baffert horse, the 8-horse, ends up being. She had run one time back in the summertime. Speed ran, in a shorter race on the dirt and showed a lot of speed. We'll see if she, does that on the turf. But, I'm going to give the benefit here to Ramayana, who has been running on turf, had the benefit of a 2-turn experience. And, we'll see. Rispoli gave her good rides both times. I think, it's just an improving horse. Should get it done here in the third race. So we'll make the win bet on the 9-horse, Ramayana. Now I'm going to move over to the 5th race of the day. The 5th race is the Grade 2 Seabiscuit. And there's a mile and a 16th on the grass. And this is a Grade 2, as I mentioned. It's a $200,000 purse. And these are 3-year-olds and upwards. So these are, for the boys here. So this is your, part of your turf festival here. This is for the older horses. Definitely a competitive field here. They're going a mile and a 16th, which, when you look through the past performances, you'll see a lot of these horses really don't run this distance of a mile and a 16th. And, it makes a lot of sense because, at Santa Anita, they don't run mile and a 16th turf races. I'm not sure if you've ever noticed that, but they just don't run mile and a 16th races at Santa Anita. They run miles, mile and an eighth, and then they go longer than that, but they do not run a mile and a 16th. So the only place you're running this distance is at Del Mar. They come out of that middle chute there in the infield and make that hard turn, into the stretch first time and go around, and there's your mile and a 16th race. So I'm going to make a win bet in this 5th race in the Seabiscuit, that being on the 9 horse, Stay Hot. Stay Hot for Peter Urton. Peter Urton legs up Juan Hernandez on the horse here. Now, this horse certainly has shown a good record at Del Mar. 2 wins out of 6 starts, and that being on the Del Mar turf. So this horse certainly does like the Del Mar turf course. I think this horse is coming in a nice way. He's had a couple starts where he came second. Mike Smith was on him the last 2 times. This horse ran in some longer races, having run in a mile and 3/8 and a mile and a quarter. No shame in getting beaten by Gold Phoenix, which this horse came second to Gold Phoenix twice. Gold Phoenix is definitely your old war horse, good, not really nice performer, especially in those longer races. So I do like to shorten up to mile and a 16th. So this horse, does have a win at a mile and a 16th, 1 out of 2 starts there on the turf. So certainly likes the distance. I think shortening up to this distance will really be a benefit for Stay Hot. Now, Stay Hot, and watching his film the last couple times, Mike Smith probably could have ridden this horse better. Might have beaten Gold Phoenix one of those last 2 times. He swung the horse out wide, and came running. It's very hard to win those turf races like that. And, I could see, Mike Smith's not going to take a whole lot of chances sticking on a rail and looking, for an opening. And he's probably just not riding like that anymore in his career. So, he does the safer thing, swings outside, hope he's best. I'm going to guess Hernandez will give this horse probably a more efficient ride, I guess we could say. And at 5-2, I'm sure we'll get something like that at 5-2. I think Stay Hot, should be best here. Running against some tough ones. As I mentioned, this is a grade 2. There's some nice horses in the race. But I think Stay Hot, given the fact that he's run well at this distance, run well at Del Mar, and shows some nice races, has, some nice form here this year, I think Stay Hot will be ready to go today. So in the 5th race in the Seabiscuit, we will bet the 9 horse, Stay Hot. So I'm going to skip over the next several races. I'm going to go to the last race of the day. Last race being the 11th race. Now this has an approximate post time about 4:30 Pacific, so that's 6:30 here in the Central Time Zone. There's a mile on the grass, and this is a first level allowance race here. These are 3-year-olds and up, and these are boys. And nice field sign on, for the last race of the day. Big field here. And I've got a win bet I'm going to make. That being on the 4 horse was Lyle the Crocodile. Now Lyle the Crocodile, I know I've talked about this horse before, and I'm pretty sure I bet this horse last time he ran over Breeders' Cup weekend. This horse comes in for Phil D'Amato, and Kazushi Kimura takes the call here. Now, if you watch the film on Lyle the Crocodile, which I have, Lyle the Crocodile is a really tough horse to ride. He just seems to just have a mind of his own, and he gives the rider a whole lot of work to do, riding him during a race. And, he's done that for most of his races. When he first started out his career here in North America, he had come from Ireland. He ran back in June of this past year. Kind of made a bit of a mess of the start, and just seemed like he grabbed the bit and took Hector Barrios to the lead. Ended up getting beat. It didn't run a bad race for all the adversity that he had running, on the lead after grabbing the bit and taking it, towards that clubhouse turn into the backstretch. Ran 4th that day. They put him in the Oceanside. Certainly a nice race. That opens up the Del Mar summer meet. Horse made a mess of the start that day and still ended up coming 3rd. So it's like, man, this horse really creates his own problems and ends up running. So he shows some talent. They put him in a turf race, an allowance race there, where, again, he broke out slow and, just had a bunch of trouble, got eased that day. So we'll just throw that race out. They put him back in the Let It Ride, which was over Breeders' Cup weekend. And, they put Irad Ortiz on the horse. I thought that was all systems go. He was a nice price that day. Ortiz gave the horse a great ride, as Ortiz usually will. And, he just came charging and ran out of ground and got beat by Tempest Velat, who was running in a stakes race earlier today in the Hollywood Derby. Now, it appears to me if Lyle the Crocodile puts it all together, he's certainly a very gifted horse and could run. And, I would guess if he had run, a little better in his few starts, they might have had him in the Hollywood Derby in that grade 1 that's going to be running earlier today. But, D'Amato's realistic, wants to see maybe they did some practicing with him, some training with him, seeing, how they can get this horse, get his mind on running and racing. And, maybe a good race here. Who knows? They might be looking at maybe the Mathis mile over at Santa Anita on opening day. That's always a nice race and a grade 2, I believe. Maybe it was a grade 1 at one time, but I think the Mathis mile is a grade 2 now for 3-year-olds. So I would think, Lyle the Crocodile should be ready to go. We're going to see how Kazushi Kimura rides this horse. As I mentioned, he's given himself a whole lot to do in charges in the stretch. In the race where he did, grab the bit and took the lead, the horse actually ran okay that day. And so I don't know what the tactics will be. We'll leave this up to Phil D'Amato and Kimura to, give this horse a nice ride. Hopefully not give him too much to do. And I think he'll finish up the race strongly. He's 7-2 in the program. We'll see what kind of price we get. We might get somewhere around there. People may kind of sway away from this horse. But I'm going to make a win bet here in the 11th race on the 4-horse, Lyle the Crocodile. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for Saturday, November 29th, we've got 4 win bets to make on this Del Mar Turf Festival, second day of their card. We're going to start out in the first race, make a win bet on the 5-horse, Time to Shine. Go to the third race, the 9-horse, Ramayana. Go to the 5th race, that being the Seabiscuit. We're going to bet the 9-horse, Stay Hot. And then finally, to cap off the card in the 11th race, another win bet on the 4-horse, Lyle the Crocodile. So if you see fit, you want to bet these horses as is, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to use these horses in your multi-race wagers, your pick 5s, pick 4s, whatnot, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Del Mar a very safe day of racing this Saturday. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips. Most important, good trips. Always seems to make a difference at Del Mar. So as always, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks. Thanks to everybody who's hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything. It just delivers the content to you into your feed. It's like an Uber Eats that doesn't charge you. You can always like, dislike, make comments. Good comments, bad comments. I promise to respond to everything. Let's create a discussion. So again, thanks so much for watching Fast Horses today. Let's make this a winning Saturday in their Turf Festival. And we will be back tomorrow for closing day at Del Mar, where the turf meets the surf. Thank you very much.